Com for audio and video archive.
I think at the end of the day, the word marriage, I mean, we had this conversation back in the 1950s about whether people of different races should get married. Welcome back. Tom Hartmann here with you, and Jim, watching us on Free Speech TV in Raton, New Mexico. Hey, Jim, what's up?
Yeah, hi, Tom. I know you're not a big fan of Freud, but...
Not generally.
Freud's defense mechanism of reaction formation, your two studies pretty much confirm Freud's defense mechanism of reaction formation.
Right. So for people who don't know what we're talking about, reaction formation is where you have an urge or a thought or whatever, and it horrifies you, and so you create a counter urge to that, and then you go out and try to impose that on other people.
Right.
It's a clunky way of describing it, but basically that's it. And what these research studies show is that people who are gay and are afraid to acknowledge it or unwilling to acknowledge it and thus try to behave like they're straight tend to be the ones who are the ones sitting around all day long obsessing on the fact that gay people are going to get married. Oh, my God. And you know, they should just own up to the fact that, you know, they're gay. But I don't think that you're going to hear Larry Craig or Rick Santorum or any of these other people like this say that. They're just going to continue with their homophobia, which is tragic. And I agree with you. I think, you know, Freud's early work, I actually wrote a book that, you know, a large part of it is about Freud. It's called Walking Your Blues Away. And Freud's early work right up until 1898, when he was working with Joseph Bauer, when he wrote Studies on Hysteria and was working with Anna O and all that stuff, and he was using hypnosis and he was using bilaterality, was highly effective. And he was on to a lot of really good stuff. And then what happened was in 1898, de Meulier published a novel called Trilby. And in this novel, Trilby, the evil character was a hypnotist. I say at that time, up until 1898, Freud was using hypnosis and was getting very, very good results with it. And he was hypnotizing people by waving his hand in front of their face. And 99% of his patients were upper middle class women. And when de Meulier published his novel Trilby, the novel Trilby was about this 16-year-old girl who was an art model in France who was seduced by a hypnotist by the name of Svengali, who waved his hands in front of her face to hypnotize her and made her, under hypnosis, sing these beautiful operas and things, and took her all around the world, made all kinds of money off her, and exploited her sexually horribly. And what this did was, this was the best-selling book of the entire 19th century. The number one selling book. The number two selling book was Harriet Beecher Stowe's Little Uncle Tom's Cabin, worldwide. And the result of this was that Freud could no longer practice hypnosis. Nobody could practice hypnosis. It stopped. It came to a dead stop, a screeching halt in 1898. And so Freud had to come up with something else. So for the next 5 or 6 years, he played with cocaine. He wrote a book of love poems to cocaine, which his daughter has published since. It's in print right now. Then when his best friend had cocaine psychosis and died from it, and Freud started seeing people, you know, addicted and crashing and burning, and he himself was having a crisis with it, he quit doing the cocaine, and then he came up with the idea of the Oedipus complex, the Electric complex, and all this other stuff, none of which worked, you know, and that became his talk therapy, and it just kind of degenerated down to the point where in the 1930s, Freud eventually committed suicide. But I'm a big fan of Freud's early work, and I think you're absolutely right about his concept of reaction formation. I think Freud was right about a lot of things, his concept of the ego, the id, the superego, really good structural stuff. Jim, thanks for the